Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Today we have a special guest, a living legend, my good friend, a mentor, a coach, a Compass superstar, a local celebrity, a national celebrity, Sky Michaels. How you doing, my friend?
I'm doing great. I didn't know who you were talking about because I was like, wait, who?
I
Me?
am talking about you. I can do a whole day of just like leading to your opening about your resume coming out to here. So
Thank you.
I appreciate you coming to this.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to be here, and I'm thrilled that we get to have this conversation.
I'm glad. So, Scott, can you please just so everyone knows for this? I'm not sure you probably talk about it a lot,
Yeah.
but like how did you get to where you are right now? How did you get
Sure.
started in real estate, and
Sure.
how did you get to where you are now?
Why don't I'll do it backwards. We'll do
Okay.
Benjamin Button style. So basically today, my current role at Compass is I'm the head of agent development nationally for Compass. Prior to that, I was the managing director, sales manager here in Center City, and I helped launch Compass in Philadelphia in 2018, along with great agents like you. Prior to that, I was at a Keller Williams brokerage that I helped launch, KW Philly. Great brokerage, great friends over there, and we launched that in 2016. And prior to that, I was at Coldwell Banker. I started out my career in Century 21, but really the origin of the story was I was a high school history teacher. And I was a high school history teacher making no money. My first year in, I realized I was like, wow, this is going to be tight for a lot of years. So I needed to get a side business or side hustle, and I fell into real estate. And I always thought in the beginning it was just going to be this little side business. I'm going to sell 4 to 6 homes a year, make a little extra money. I got nights, I got weekends, I got the summertime, so let's see where it goes. And it very quickly blossomed into the career it is now and put me in the seat I'm in now.
So, Sky, what year did you get in?
Yeah. So it was 2002 was when I officially got my license. It was, like I said, it was that first year teaching. I got my licensing all done at Pauline Associates out in Newtown Square. I did it in 4 weekends and then officially licensed in May of 2002. So I just celebrated 20 years of being in the real estate industry.
Congratulations, man.
Thanks.
That's a long
Yeah,
time.
it's a long time for sure, and I love it.
But yet, it's not that long, right? We have people in the business that have been doing it for 40 plus years, right?
Yeah, the best part about this business is the fact that you can do it for the rest of your life, frankly, if you wanted to. And we have great agents who have been doing it for 40 plus years, and we have agents that have been doing it for 4 days.
Yeah.
So everyone is sort of operating somewhere in between. And I like the position I'm in because of the fact that 20 years in, I have a lot of experience, but I also have that drive to continue to grow and continue to learn every single day.
Just so we put this in perspective, so you started in 2002. When did you decide that you were going to start a team?
Yeah.
Right?
So I went full-time. I left teaching in 2005. So I did both. I did part-time real estate, quote unquote, for 3 years. And I was an individual agent for the most part from 2005 to 2013.
Got it.
And this is a really great lesson for everyone listening around ego. Ego is your enemy. And I was an individual agent. I had admin, but I always wanted to be an individual, partly in the beginning because I like to control things. Mm-hmm. But my ego was also really big. And in 2011, I wanted to be the #1 agent at Coldwell Banker Preferred, our local Coldwell Banker franchise. It was about 1,000 agents, and it was this thing that I really wanted to be #1. And it was a big goal. It was me and 2 admin, and I sold a tremendous amount of real estate in 2011, and I became the #1 individual agent. Well, 2012, I knew I should start a team. And I wanted to start a team, but I was like, I really want to be #1 again. And I know if I started a team, I was not going to be #1 because there were just bigger teams in our brokerage at that time, and there's no way I was going to catch them. So the entire year of 2012, I was an individual agent again, and I won this really big eagle, like the #1 individual agent again. And it is one of the greatest lessons I carried forward in my life because it really, really took a toll on my health, on my personal relationships, because all I was doing was working. Whereas if I had started a team, that would not have been the case, and I would have made a lot more money. But because I wanted to be #1 and my ego was raging, it was a lesson in sort of making sure you're always aware when your ego is hurting you and when it's helping you. And most of the time, our ego hurts us.
So, ego is great for sales productivity, but like not so great for longevity and growth, right?
It holds us back from growth because, once again, becoming number one is meaningless in the scope of life, right?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't change me waking up in the morning. It doesn't change the way I have a relationship with my kids. It doesn't change the way I feel about myself. And it's one of those things, what it does, it creates this world where we're chasing this fallacy of achievement. Because at the end of the year, you're number one, well, it all starts over. And
I like it because I remember talking to you and I was like, Sky, I want to be the number one team in our market. And you challenged me. You said like, well, what does that mean to be number one, right? And you just you gave me the same talk, and it was valuable to me because then I had to really take a deeper inside look to why I wanted to do that and just make sure that it wasn't just my ego getting in the way because I just wanted to be number one and my competitive nature just but that's so awesome. And then from when you started the team.
So 2013, I launched the team.
Yeah. And
it was initially Sky Michaels and Associates, and I created a tagline called Real Estate with Heart as the tagline.
I love that.
And then over time, as my team began to grow and as my agents began to grow, they sort of wanted to be able to market under a name that was not my name. And so we flipped the tagline into the team name and did Real Estate with Heart as the team name, and the agents could market under their name in that model that we ran.
Yeah, I mean, listen, when I got into the business in 2009, you were already a top producing solo agent back then. I don't know if you were number one, but you were in our office. You were number one. And I admire you then, so you were like a role model. And then you went and started the team and like Real Estate with Heart. It was like my playbook was just like, I remember I even called my list the same as your list because you were like, this is how you love in your customers, your clients, right? And it's like, if you're able to hug them in the street, there's your hug list, and I was like, yes, writing it down, that's, so I took that, right? It helped me grow as well. But when did you transition from like being a team leader to say, hey, I want to start a brokerage?
Yeah, so the first beginning of starting a brokerage was in 2016, where myself and 4 other partners, we launched KW Philadelphia, or KW Philly. And that was, it was an awesome experience because of the fact we were able to basically launch from the ground up with all of our teams coming together and being able to build a brokerage in this model and this mindset of what we envisioned. And that was an awesome experience. I was doing that for about 2.5 years. And at the end of those 2.5 years, partly from a personal standpoint and partly from a professional standpoint, I sort of wanted to do a little more. Because I was still, at that point, just an investor in the brokerage, and I helped out with recruiting and teaching and things along those lines, but I was still just a minority investor.
Yeah, you guys were doing great stuff. I remember, I was at Berkshire Hathaway at that time, and just watching from afar, you guys, were doing, it seemed like you're doing a lot of stuff.
Very similar to what we do here at Compass as well. And in 2018, I was just at a point where, I wanted to sort of be more than just a real estate agent, right? And I wanted to be more than just a team. And I felt like I had a lot more to contribute to people beyond just, going and selling real estate, teaching a class here and there. In addition, I've been a student of leadership for a very long time. And there's a point where it's one thing to lead a group of 12 people. What could I lead a group of 200 people? Could I lead a group of 1,000 people? Could I lead a group of 20,000 people? These are some of the questions I started to ask myself, and I really was desiring a little bit of a next level challenge. And Compass came into our marketplace, and I was approached to take over as the managing director here in Philadelphia and help launch Compass in this city. And I fell in love with everything that existed here at Compass, as far as the people, the culture, the technology, the marketing, the brand. I think brand stands for something, and I wanted to be associated with a brand where I could stand for something as Sky Michaels and be enhanced by the brand I was associated with. So in 2018, I made the really difficult decision to leave KW Philly and go to Compass, and it's been an amazing ride ever since.
And I mean, I was lucky enough to kind of join in the beginning as you guys were launching the Philadelphia location, and I remember we were able to fit in the same conference room,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you know, you could be in the photos, the whole group would fit in one photo, right? And but you know, it really was really magical to watch us grow as well, and you know, that whole. I remember when I joined, it was like, you know, Jeff Bedard was saying like, hey, we're still like, we're this national company, but we're still like in that startup garage phase.
Yep.
And that really stuck with me, right? And I'm just thinking about it, and it was so true, because like everything that we've experienced and the leadership behind it and the support that we're getting, collaborating without ego was a big one, and the energy and the culture really was something that like I did not experience, right? And I think I would say like a lot of us didn't either, because some of the best people were kind of in the same place, just kind of made that environment possible for all of us. But that also, we grew fast, like 2 years fast forward, right? We went the pandemic, this and that. We were onboarding people virtually, like hundreds at a time in a way, right? So I felt like we grew so fast, like, and you know, things were changing, right? Things were changing, and for the good. But like any industry, anything that happened, like things change. So going from, you know, managing, you know, the area, managing the Philadelphia office, like when did you get to your current role? How did that happen?
Well, and just to comment on the growth, I think there's a term that I love using, which is the word evolve versus revolt, right? And this is a Leonard Steinberg quote that he taught me. A revolution is messy, it's bloody, it's carnage, it's horrible, right? Like, change happens. The best kind of change is when you evolve. Evolution is slow, methodical, beautiful. Think of a butterfly, right? That's not a revolt, it's an evolution. And I think that's in essence what we're seeing and what we're living through in real estate is the evolution of the real estate agent.
I like that a lot. Q&U. Evolve.
Exactly.
That's my new tagline.
I love it. The evolution of real estate. And I think when you take that mindset that we want to be part of a company that every single day is not thinking of revolting or, you know, just creating carnage, what we're thinking about is evolution. And how do we slowly, right, each day, little bit, get better and better and better. Yeah. And the reality of our world is if we don't focus on that every single day, the reality is there are third-party aggregators and other factors at play that the real estate agent, frankly, is at risk of losing some of their relevance and some of their power and authority if we don't get better.
100%. I mean, you know, a lot of companies have growth in the mindset, and I love the way how you put it, right? And especially in our industry right now, that if you don't evolve, you know, it's like growing versus dying, right? Because like not only are you in a competitive business, but also there's other factors outside that the world is currently like conditions are where our industry is affected, and we need to take matters in our own hands, and we need to depend on leaders and companies to be able to help us and guide us through that, right? With the use of technology as well, and still staying relevant, and doing what we do best, which is like really, like we're in the people business.
That's it.
Right? It's like, how can we help?
And
period.
And that's a point too, that what we want to do here at Compass is we want to create the tech-enabled agent versus tech replacement agent, right? And I think what we're going to see in the industry is you're going to see two types of, there's going to be a divergence, a fork in the road, shall we say. On the one side, we're going to see this ultra advisor, consultant, the realtor for life that is in your world, is giving you advice on finances, on improvements, on safety and maintenance. And when you think of the word real estate, it's not just around the buying and selling, it's around everything revolving around your home. The other fork is going to be the transactional agent, which is the person that just processes the transaction. And I believe we're at a point in our industry where we are going to start to see this diverge, where you're going to see the full-time professional advisory consultant real estate agent emerge, and you're going to see the transactional agent emerge as well. It's just going to be a little bit of a different model. And when you create technology and a brand that means something, that's really what we're after, is making an agent like yourself become a better advisor and consultant. And at the end of the day, if you can create a better consumer experience, they're going to talk about that, right? Why does someone go, you can buy a ring anywhere on the street or at any jewelry store, but why do you buy it at Tiffany's? Because there's something about the brand that matters.
Absolutely.
When you show up with that blue bag, it says something, right? Yeah. And at the end of the day, I think that's what we're after. We want to create a brand that enhances your personal brand tenfold.
Yeah, I think, in this fork that we're going, there's going to be people who are going to be able to benefit from both.
Yep.
But at least we know which side that as an office, as a company, we're heading, right?
Yeah.
So we really are more in being able to add more value to our clients versus like
That's right.
just being very transactional driven. And those are going to be more technology based, right?
That's
more
right.
just cut dry and cut, be just done, and that's it. And,
Yep.
and maybe that's going to be helpful in some areas, but I do think for what we represent, right?
Yep.
Helping people find their place in the world, it's something that it's not taken very lightly. It's a very important job to be able to do that, and
Yep.
people want that, and they want to work with the best, and they want, not only the convenience, but they also want the advisor there that's going to help them get there, right?
Yeah.
So, I want to ask you this question, Sky. Where do you see real estate industry going or being 5 years from now?
Yeah. It's a great question. I think about it pretty much every day. I wake up, it's like, okay, where are we going and how can we be part of that future? I think this conversation we just started is going to just get ultra enhanced. I do believe we're going to start to see companies that are investing in agents or companies that are investing in the non-agents are going to be the two worlds that we're competing in. And a lot of it's going to come back.
So it's not brokers to brokers. Basically, this industry is split into, and that's really the competition.
Yeah.
Right?
Do I want to? What is the type of business am I running? Do I want to do 1,000 units and just turn and burn, have zero relationships? Which, once again, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, or do I want to do 300 really well done deals that generate a good return on investment because of the fact I'm building it.
And I get that, but also there are teams out there doing 1,000+ units at a very high level, right? Even here at Compass, I just want to point that out.
Absolutely, yeah. And once again, I'm not criticizing the unit number or count. It's almost just like the mindset around churn and burn, or create long-term growth and health, if that makes sense. And I think at the end of the day, the people that to be a true advisor and consultant, you need to invest deeply into relationships. Mm-hmm. And you need to invest very, very deeply into technology that allows you to enhance those relationships, but then insert the humanity into it as well. And I think, like I said, in 5 years from now, we are going to see a world emerge where you have the agents who operate in this humanistic, caring, kind way, consultant way emerge, and then you're going to have, once again, the transactional agent emerge as well, and it's going to be even the role of the real estate on the transactional side for these companies are going to be even less. The role of the advisor over here is going to be even more.
I personally, I think that I have to agree with you in that. I do think that the transactional side agent is almost going to be almost non-existent because there's not going to be a need for them. Yep. So the niche of that market or the type of transactions that are happening may exist, but it's going to be less of that. It's just really going to be run by only a handful and not many agents, which goes to say how we're also going to see the industry started to shrink in size, right? Because then,
Yep.
Either you're going to be affected by that, where you're not effective anymore, or you're
Correct.
obsolete, right? And you're going to see agents who are doing it at a very high level, or teams, for example,
That's
right?
right. Yep.
Teams who are doing work like very effectively as a group together, not only getting market share, but being able to compete
Yep.
with those type of companies as well, right?
Absolutely.
Be able to compete and offer a much value or a much better service to their clients.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, and I think to expand on that too, I think what we're going to see is teams beyond your team expand. So, for example, when you take a company like Compass, where you can create a national network, which is not your team per se, but you have a network all across the country that is almost like a symbiotic network where we're all feeding each other. So if you have relationships in New York and DC and LA and Denver and Texas or whatever it might be, you know that you can start to create these lead sources for free off of the relationships you have with other agents, and you continue to expand and create this almost spider web.
Yeah, you have the ecosystem.
You got it.
I want to ask you a question because, and this is probably a lot of headlines out there, and one of the things that are out there is like where Compass, it's although they started the entrepreneur spirit, but does not represent the entrepreneur agent, right? It's more focused towards agents who really are going to do 8 to 10 transactions, right?
Yeah.
At a high level, have all this tool, which is great, but not really supportive to the entrepreneur mind, the team leader who wants to go and grow and offer all the great service, but not able to grow within the ecosystem because it's just like the direction that Compass is heading. What's your take on that?
This question is the one that comes up, and I love hearing it because almost all the time it's from someone who doesn't understand the value proposition of the word leverage. So when you are trying to be an entrepreneur, your best friend is leverage. So I, as someone who has run, owned, sold businesses, if I'm trying to do everything on my own, I'm not going to be able to expand and grow and build what I want to build. I always, as an entrepreneur, it's so critical to add leverage into my world. Now, when you can think about a situation at Compass and as a large team or an entrepreneurial team, that I want to actually build this big business that's all around me, the question comes back is leverage. Well, how am I going to add that leverage? When you don't have a company that has 10, 15, 20 things that I can pull from, insert into my team at no cost, and add that leverage into the team, that's a company that's going to allow me to grow tenfold versus the company where I am piecing together the points of leverage that all don't work together, they all don't communicate, there is no flow, etc. So for example, at Compass, let's just take the point of training a new agent, right? When you bring a new agent on and you can leverage the programs, the tactics, the things that are going on almost every single day here in order to train the new agents and take that off of your plate, how much more effective is your business going to be? When you have a technology that allows your admin, instead of doing they can only do 50 deals a year because they have all these different technologies. Now they can do 150 deals a year at the same cost. That's leverage. So the key point for the entrepreneur is check your ego, identify where your ego is saying, oh, I don't want to do this because it's not me. And then you layer in the question, what leverage points can I take from what's offered here and add into my business to exponentially grow it? And that's, I think, the whole argument. Any good entrepreneur, if they understand that word leverage, they can grow 10 times faster than the entrepreneur who thinks that they are the ones that need to create all the leverage.
Got it. So, and I think that, Compass is very much operates in, although they're technology driven, it's very much more of a traditional broker model, right? Mm-hmm. So there is no revenue sharing or profit sharing other than that stock being a public brokerage. So most teams here don't have a cap, right? So they're not never going to that 100% model. Yep. So I think maybe it becomes leveraging, being able to save more time, and it's kind of saying like, okay, at what point are you getting more value for
That's
what
right.
you're given and more of that commission percentage in the split, where it's a value, right? Because I think you're right. A lot of teams just look at the gross amount that it's on the table and what's coming off of it, right?
That's right.
And you know, if you're a big team, that could be $1 million plus, right? And then you say, like, what are you getting into from the ecosystem and the value you're getting? And I think that, you know, you really have to be all in with it too, right?
Yeah.
And if you're not all in, then it becomes harder, right? It becomes harder to see the value.
And this is such a great conversation, because the bottom line, as a realtor and entrepreneur, you are always paying a split. And even if you're in a cap model or a 100% model, if you are running a business, you're always paying a split. The difference is the split coming out of your pocket, or is it coming out of Compass's pocket or your brokerage pocket?
Yeah.
The other thing to think about is there's a hidden cost to a cap model, and the cost typically becomes inefficiencies in your business. When you can take, and at the end of September, at the end of this month, nationally, every Compass agent is going to be able to do a deal from lead generation all the way through close on the Compass platform. Meaning, I don't need to go and copy and paste MLS numbers or tax ID numbers into DocuSign. I don't need to go to these different programs. I legitimately can be on one program, type in the information, and the timeline that I can do an offer, a listing contract, etc., is going to be shrunk in by tenfold. It's going to shrink. The other thing as well is the consumer experience. So we're going to be in that technology that's going to be released at the end of this month. You literally are going to be able to present offers to your sellers in a glorified way, where no other brokerages, they got to type it into a spreadsheet, create PDFs, everything like that. You legitimately are going to intake offers and then be able to present them with clicks of a button to your clients, which is all about creating this consumer experience and all creating efficiencies within your business. Imagine a world where I can show a house on a Sunday night and in 5 minutes have an offer created from start to finish, rather than spending hours and hours and going to different programs to do this. This is going to be a huge game changer.
I love to see that, because like being a team leader, that's like one of the things, especially the second quarter of this year, we experienced like a high volume of, you know, just agent activity, right, and writing offers. So one of the things we had to do, we literally had an admin that just started offers for all our agents. Yeah. And even that, you know, it's a salary, it's time consuming, and you have to like put it in the form or call. So it's like versus, you know, then you're just like, why don't I just do it myself, right?
Correct.
So, you know, I love that, you know, we're starting to ask questions like that as a company, but also as an industry, to see like how can we make it easier for agents to be able to work better and more efficient. If like I run a team here at Compass, and you know, if I was looking at side and I'm considering it, right, because you know maybe that's my next journey of growth as a team grows. Like, what is the main differences? You know, before why should I continue to stay here at Compass?
Great question. And I think it really goes back into the fractionalization of real estate agents. When you think about the 5 years from now, and you think about the consumer in the marketplace, the brand name is really going to start to matter. And at the end of the day, when you have fractionalization within our industry around professional, full-time, amazing agents, well, what that allows is for these third-party aggregators to come in and sort of take the role of the agent. So for example, years ago, real estate agents would send out postcards saying, hey, if you want to know the value of your home, let me know and I can give you the value of your home. That was replaced by the Zestimate, right? So a consumer would go online and type in their address onto Zillow and get a Zestimate. Well, the reality is no agent uses Zillow to price a home, because of the fact that frankly, it's a range. It's with hundreds of thousands of dollars of difference. Plus, if you go on to Realtor.com, Zillow, Trulia, Redfin, all the third-party aggregators, they all have different estimates. Almost never are they the same estimate. Maybe in rare situations and rare cases. But to the consumer, they are now being taught that the Zestimate is value when it's not. And the challenge you have is when you create fractionalization within the industry. This is, once again, you create the world where there's inefficiencies. You also create the world where the third-party aggregators that are looking to become those transactional agents are basically giving the open door and the green light to take the role of the realtor. And the world where we can build up a knowledge among consumers of what does it mean to be a Compass agent. And if I am moving to a new area, I am looking to get expert advice, guidance, etc. If there's all these disparate brokerages in these regions, well, there is no brand presence. What am I going to do? I'm going to go to the third-party aggregator and be shuttled away from the full-time professional realtors and into the transactional model.
Right. So I mean, we all know that, those companies have made a ton of money living of inserting, themselves between the consumer and the agent. Obviously, in many ways, they've done a better job of going to that, getting that attention, right, inserting themselves there, and that's why we're here where we are as an industry, right?
Well, they've done a better job because of the fact they're united. It's one message.
Yes.
Nationally. So we'll take use side as an example. And by the way, this is not a criticism of any broker, just highlighting a different philosophies and models, right? There's great brokerages that side, and that's awesome. The power you have here at Compass, though, is that you get to leverage in 8 years of being in sales, by the way. So the company's existed for 10, but in 8 years, we've gone from being in New York City to being the #1 independent brokerage across the country. Like that's unfathomable in real estate, right? We're competing against companies that have been in business for hundreds of years.
Right.
And at the end of the day, why does the consumer not think of these franchises as representing real estate? It's because of fractionalization, because of the fact that no company nationally has been able to take their name and make it stand for real estate.
Got it.
And that's what Compass is trying to do.
You have like companies like EXP, for example. They're a national company, so they're doing it, like similar but maybe different.
So EXP in the realtor world means something, in the public world does not. That brand, for example, doesn't say to a consumer real estate. And I think that's the difference. That's the mindset and the philosophy that we have, is that we want you as a brand to be propelled by the Compass brand.
Do you see Compass, because Compass right now obviously has a street cred to consumers and agents, right?
Yeah.
And I know Compass, like being able to complete that circle, is like continuing to grow that side and continue to be the all go-to place for consumers when they think about home, right? Like, do you see Compass like website doing like a Compass estimate where they can, instead of going to Zillow, then they're going to, check out CompStats, right? And then if you want to know more, we're going to connect you with an agent. Is it something that you see that be beneficial, or? It's
a good question. I actually would argue what I'm driving at right now is that every single Compass agent creates a Compass assessment. Meaning once a year, if you work with a Compass agent, once a year, you get an analysis and a communication from your agent that is unique to you, that says, here's a range, here's a snapshot of what's sold around your home. If you want an exact estimate, let me know, I can give you an exact estimate. In addition, if you need information on anything financial implications, insurance, how many people are underinsured right now, refinance, lines of equity, using your home for retirement, putting your home in an LLC or a trust, right? Using your home to pay for college, buying an investment property, right? So you have a bucket of financials. Improvements. Hey, are you looking to do any improvements? I can help. Redo your kitchen, upgrade your bathroom, do your floors, paint,
like a home
Etc.
equity check, right?
Exactly.
Once a year.
Exactly. And we got to go beyond the home equity, though, right? Equity is a piece of the financial bucket. So picture finances, picture improvements, and picture safety maintenance. And those three buckets, once a year, if every Compass agent reached out to every one of their past clients.
I like that. So, I mean, it could be like almost a health check for a home, but you check all these different pillars that are important to people.
Exactly, just related to your other financial institutions. My financial advisor sends me, I get it on them. I don't want a monthly estimate of my home, but I get a consistent update of my portfolio. So why do we not do that in real estate? It's because of this fractionalization that's been created, where there's not this unifying understanding and voice and movement that we can create in 2 weeks. As a company, we can shift.
True. I mean, I've been doing that for years now,
Yeah.
right? So I went from, doing the way that we're doing digitally with BonBon videos and
Yep.
whatnot. Before we would just mail this, in their doorstep
Yeah.
and then call and you get it.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
and it like once a year. And a lot of times we diverted from that because, we got busy and things happen and just like,
This is inefficiencies.
inefficiencies, right?
You're highlighting the point I was making before. You got away from it because it's inefficient. And when it takes you so much time and it's so complicated, what happens is when you're not busy, you do it. Those efforts get you busy, you stop doing it, you complete those deals, and then you're not busy, and it's this vicious cycle. And the point I strive to teach with the agents is when you can create efficiency within a routine. So if I had this mindset that I was just gonna do one a day in 10 minutes, and most agents that I'm training in this can do it in 5 minutes at this point using the Compass platform and technology. Well, in 5 minutes, I just did one really good thing for myself and my business and my client.
Yeah.
And the key thing is that no matter what happened during the day, that is the first thing I do, that is one of those things that's going to propel us forward. And agents that come to me say, "Oh, I don't have time. I got this." I have them pull out their phone and check their social media usage. Most of them are, I was on Instagram or Facebook for an hour. If you're on Facebook or Instagram for an hour, you have 5 minutes to do something good for one of your past clients.
It's true. Like, it's scary how much time we spent on there and time could go very
So
quickly.
fast, so fast.
Sky, what do you think is the biggest challenge that real estate agents face today?
The biggest challenge agents face today is themselves. I mean, I know that sounds funny, but the reality is we are being bombarded from every single angle with all kinds of information, with all kinds of comparison to other agents, with messaging from our brokerages, from coaches, from third-party aggregators, right? It's so easy as an agent to wake up and be like, all right, what do I do? So our biggest challenge today is ourselves. And the key thing that every single agent needs to understand is, in my opinion, you got to get it down to 3 things I do every single day in under 15 minutes, but I do it every single day. And this may be different for other agents out there. I'm not saying these need to be your 3, but in my opinion, I'd recommend these 3. The first thing is know your local market. So spend 2 minutes, 3 minutes, just understanding what's going on in my market, period. And this is if the market's good, if it's bad, if it's normal, whatever it might be. This is so critical, so important. The second thing is you need to deepen your connection and relationships to your sphere, to the people you know. I'm working on a concept I'm calling the 100. And my theory is that every single agent has about 100 people that creates their business, but they have no idea who they are. They couldn't, with a click of a button, say, this is my 100. Imagine a world where I knew who those 100 were and I knew ways of interacting with them from a point of value and contribution. And then the third thing I would add in is do one thing of value to someone in your spheres, your past clients, your 100, your people you know. Do one specific thing in a one-to-one method. Not a newsletter, not something you're sending out to thousands of people, to one person. And you do that every single day of your career for 15 minutes. And then you go about your day. Now, if you have more time, sure, do more than one person. right? Or you're a little light in business, you got to amp it up. Cool. But at the end of the day, if we wake up every single day and ask ourselves the question, well, I'm going to shut the noise out. I'm going to turn it all off. And what I'm going to do 3 things. Under 15 minutes, what are those going to be? So you got to identify what those are, you got to commit to doing them, and then you got to create ways of being accountable. Because at the end of the day, we've never been in a moment in time where there's more resources for a real estate agent, and I've never seen agents more paralyzed and confused. It almost seems like the more we build, the more we create, and the more that's offered, the more agents are just in this state of like deer in a headlight and shock. So we got to get to the point, and this is not just for Compass agents, it's for every single agent listening to this, where we identify our 3 things in under 15 minutes, and then we do them every single day. My marketing plan that I use to sell almost $100 million in real estate in a year was the same marketing plan I used from almost day one that I probably taught to you in 2009. And the key thing was the consistency with which I did it. And that's what made me successful. And there's different tweaks I made and different changes, but for the most part, I kept it consistent, I kept it quality, and I provided value to people. And that's what every agent needs to do.
I'm hearing consistency, I'm hearing accountability, and I'm hearing commitment, and making sure that you're doing those 3 things you recommended, like, consistently, right, every day that you're working. I always tell my agents and the team, there's make it very simple. There's 5 ways that you can generate business, and one of them is like one-on-one, right? Having those one-on-one conversation with people, right? That could be your 100 list, and it could be your sphere, people just kind of like being out there. Number 2 is being able to you have to have something, right, where you can reach to your network, right? Like it could be a social media content, it could be the newsletter, it could be the email, just something in your community. That's like another way you could do it. Obviously, you could also do paid advertisement, right? If you're looking to just generate more connections. It's not that's what I think about it. You're generating more connections, so you can have that one-on-one with people. And 4 on my list is building partnership relationship and affiliates with other local businesses that represent the same client as you or like the same client, so you can continue to serve them. So think outside the box, that one. And my favorite one, and I think this goes back to your one-on-one, is is that word of mouth, that doing such an awesome job that they're going to refer you to other people. And I think if you can just do that, I think you can be very successful. And I think that's as agents, we underestimate the power of just really just doing that one thing.
Agreed.
So,
I agree.
I love it. So Sky, I want to close this, and I want to ask you a couple personal questions so we can close it, which is great. So what do you like to do for fun?
So for me, socializing with people is probably one of the things that makes me so happy. So I love, going out to dinner with friends, having people over, grabbing a cup of coffee, grabbing a cocktail, going to play golf. So if it involves other people, that's usually something that is fun for me. I love obviously spending time with my kids. My kids are 12 and 10 now, and that it's such a phenomenal age at this point where we're just having so much fun. On a recreational side, I absolutely love doing anything that's physical, working out, whether it's a workout class, a run, a bike ride, playing golf. So anytime I can be physical, especially doing something outside.
You just did a big hike,
I did. I just completed, it was called the 29029 Challenge, and they call it Everesting. And in under 36 hours, you climb up a mountain 13 times to equate to climbing 29,000 vertical feet or climbing Mount Everest.
Wow.
It was an awesome experience. So it's very, very, very difficult physically, even more difficult mentally to keep it going. We did all 13 in a row, so I didn't sleep for 30 hours straight.
Well, so since you love, getting together with people, and, if you could have a cup of coffee with anyone, historically too, right?
Okay.
Who would that be?
I'll go one living, one dead.
Okay.
The dead would be FDR.
Okay.
My favorite president. I grew up in Hyde Park, New York. I went to FDR High School. I was a history teacher. There was never a president, in my opinion, that influenced modern history the way that he did.
I agree.
And he just is, I just would love to go and grab a cup of coffee with him and just hear and ask him questions about like what he was going through and thinking about through the Great Depression, World War II, and all the things that he sort of led the country through. Because you think about what we deal with now, like COVID was tragic and a horrible thing. But you think about the Great Depression and you think about World War II. And most presidents lead through one of those. He led through two of the most impactful historical moments of our country. So what was he thinking? Living, oh man, this is a good one. There's so many people. I'm gonna try to make it on the real estate side. I personally would just love to have a cup of coffee with Tony Robbins. And it's like, I've never been to his events. It's one of those things I have to go. I just want to like hear about like him off stage, no lights, no cameras. Like, what is he actually like? Do you know what I mean? Because you have these, motivational speakers. I follow a bunch of them, and what are they actually like off camera? Yeah. And I would love to just have this conversation with him.
That's awesome. You know, there's an event in November that I'm thinking about going. My first time Tony Robbins event, and the same. I actually, with you, I thought about like, what would it be like to have a cup of coffee or sit down with Tony Robbins?
Yeah.
Or be like in his like sphere of friends, and if he's the same, because like he is a hero to me, right?
Yeah.
For a lot of people, so which is awesome. And all right, if you were to go back to your, old or your 18-year-old self, right?
Yeah.
What advice would you give, right?
Yeah, if I could go back to my 18-year-old self, the advice I would give is to make sure I document the journey. I think about so much of my history, and it's at 45 now. It's so hard to remember the moments you went through, and we can learn so much if we had that documented. So the one piece of advice would be to document the journey. Write a journal, keep a journal, and do these little things all the time that you could actually go back and read your own history. The other piece of advice I'd have is that keep dreaming big and dream bigger. Like, I always dreamed big. I always felt like I could do anything I wanted to, despite whatever circumstances were. But I think it's easy to let doubts creep in, and it's almost like keep going and keep going faster. That's the advice I would give. And like, for example, it took me 3 years to go full-time real estate, whereas like I should have been full-time real estate
right away.
One year. Like, all right, that first year I can do this. Boom, I should have done it. It's starting a team. I should have started a team years ago, right?
You're like, why did I wait so long? Right?
Yeah. So
I love this. Yeah.
That's, I think, the thing that I want to tell people is when you have that impulse, follow the impulse. Nothing bad will happen if you accept that wherever Alana used on the mountain, be where your feet are. If I'm where my feet are, everything is good. And so if you have an impulse and you take a chance and it didn't go exactly the way you planned, you know what that's called? Normal.
Yeah.
There's almost no thing we do in life that goes exactly the way we thought it was going to go, and that's normal.
The one thing I want to add about that, about dreaming big and dreaming bigger, right? And I'm all about that.
Yep.
And is that I think us as visionary entrepreneurs, like, we need to be able to share that with people around us. So like, that's our leadership teams, like our team, our families, and make it clear and make it like let everyone know, because I found out like right now we're doing our Q4 business planning, which is like, we call it the ROC. So we're following the whole Traction EOS system. Yeah. And I discussed the 3-year plan, like really for the first time. My team has heard me talk about it like over the years, right? But this is for the first time where I said, this is the 3-year plan. And I didn't even get to the 10-year plan. And I realized that, they were like, they were here and I was like here.
Yeah.
So like there was that disconnect already. Yeah. So I think that also dream big and dream bigger, but make sure that you share that with everyone around you and you align yourself with everyone around you, because I think that's very important.
So
because
big.
That way, you're not frustrated or the wrong expectation I put in place when no one's like aware of your vision.
So true. So true. So.
And where can people find you?
Best place to find me right now is on Instagram, at Sky Michaels. It's SKYE, spelled a little differently. It's MICHIELS. So at Sky Michaels on Instagram. You could also follow at the 6 Amers, which is THE, the number 6 AMERS. That's another thing we didn't get a chance to talk about.
I love it. I think we should have you on just talking about 6 Amers one day.
Great.
And we want to talk about it, but like we can probably spend all day doing this.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you, man.
I appreciate you so much. I appreciate it, man. Good stuff.
Thank you.
Thank you.